opportunity to go through the material. Maybe your questions will actually be answered. Like I mentioned before, there is a 2-minute time limit. Give me 1 second. There's a 2-minute time limit per comment. So as I mentioned before, we'll start the timer. You'll get an opportunity to talk, and then we'll go to the next person. For those of you online, and I'll be introducing the team at Pedro Quintana who's managing the online audience, just go ahead and type your questions in the chat box during the presentation. Raise your hand to provide comments during the question and answer session that's going to be coming up at the end. Finally, obviously, please be respectful of other community members and their ideas. It's very we want to hear everything. We're not going to be weighing one over the other at this moment. We're just going to be taking the information in. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the staff, and then we'll go through the So, first of all, my name is Mark and I am the Public Affairs Manager, Caltrans, in District 4 here in the Bay Area. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our technical team really quick. If you guys don't mind just raising your hand. Well, the first person is Kieran Kirsch. Moser. Got it. Thanks. Then we've got Milan, Hector Chinchilla. Cheryl James is going to be doing the sliding today. Matt McDonald is the public information officer for Marin. He's in the back, captain of all of this. And online, we've got Pedro Quintana. Pedro, can you check in and just say hi? Hello. Quintana. And also with Spanish translation, Jane West. Jane, just say hi. Hello, everyone. Okay, great. And my panel members. My name is Trent. Education engineer in the Office of Advanced Planning. Hi, good evening. My name is Daniel Cuellar, project manager, and one of the project managers we're having managing this project. And I'll welcome everyone. Okay, and then if you don't mind, are there any Caltrans subject matter experts that are online that might be potentially answering a question? It's okay. There you go. That's it. Hello? Okay. Can you say hi? Yes, well, I'm Eric Hall. I'm the Office of Regional Community Planning here at Caltrans. Okay. Technology aspect of this, folks. Right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and read the non-discrimination policy statement, followed by Jane Duenas reading it in Spanish. Department of Transportation, under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, ensures no person in the United States shall on the ground, race, color, national origin be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Caltrans will make every effort to ensure non-discrimination in all of its services, programs, and activities, whether they are federally funded or not, and that services and benefits are fairly distributed to all people, regardless of race, color, national origin. In addition, Caltrans will facilitate meaningful participation in the transportation planning process in a non-discriminatory manner. Related federal statutes, remedies, and state law further those protections to include sex, disability, religion, sexual orientation, and age. For information or guidance on how to file a complaint or obtain more information regarding Title VI, please contact the Title VI branch manager at area code 916-24-8379, or you can visit the following webpage that you can Google that's the civil, just basically Title VI contract. Jane, can you go ahead and get the Spanish version?
Yes, certainly. Les voy a leer la declaración de la norma de no discriminación. El Departamento de Transporte de California, bajo el título 6 de la Ley de Derechos Civiles de 1964, asegura que ninguna persona en los Estados Unidos, debido a su raza, color u origen nacional, será excluida de participar, ni se le negarán los beneficios o será objeto de discriminación en ningún programa o actividad que reciba ayuda financiera federal. Nosotros hará todos los esfuerzos para asegurar que no exista discriminación en ninguno de sus servicios, programas y actividades, ya sea que reciban fondos del gobierno federal o no, y que los servicios y beneficios sean justamente distribuidos a todas las personas sin importar su raza, color u origen nacional. Adicionalmente, Comcast facilitará la participación significativa en el proceso de planeación de los programas de transporte de manera no discriminatoria. Los estatutos federales relacionados, los remedios y la ley estatal refuerzan estas protecciones para incluir el sexo, la discapacidad, la religión, la orientación sexual y la edad. Para información u orientación sobre cómo presentar una queja, para obtener más información relacionada con el título 6, por favor comuníquese con el gerente del título 6 al teléfono 916-324-8379. Puede visitar la siguiente página de internet que está en la pantalla. O también la puede buscar en Google. Solamente busque al título 6 y ahí lo puede encontrar. Si desea ver esta presentación en español, tenemos la presentación entera en YouTube. Aquí les voy a dejar el enlace en la caja de chat. Así que si quieren ver esta presentación, pueden ir ahí y después que terminen pueden regresar y hacer sus preguntas y serán traducidas las respuestas. Yes.
Thanks, Jane.
Welcome.
Okay, so also that was dropped in the chat for those of you online. There is a Spanish language version of the presentation that we're about to give. So you can click on that link and go ahead and you can see the presentation in Spanish. I'm almost ready to turn it over to Daniel, but before I do that, we wanted to share a couple of questions from the previous meeting that we didn't get to answer that are saying we'll be putting up on our website. So obviously, we can't make it through to everybody. We're still taking in this information. We're going to be putting out responses. Knowing that it's very early on in the process, and there's a lot more technical planning to happen as we go on. So one of the questions that we had that we're going to be posting is pretty simple. What is the plan for the bike and pedestrian path? And this comes from an interest in making sure that is addressed. And so all of the conceptual strategies that we're looking at right now definitely include a bike and pedestrian path. So that's the answer to that question. The second question was a little bit more involved. What is the plan to address current flooding at Manzanita and State 1? So the response that's going up on the website, the beginning response, is there's currently a pavement overlay project along State 1 that includes this location. The intersection is being addressed due to the area, elevating the intersection substantially, maybe beyond the scope of that project due to cost. So we'll be bringing back those concerns to the design team and to management. A separate project may be warranted to achieve that. So those are some examples of responses that we're going to be putting on the website for questions that we didn't get to from the previous. And so with that, Daniel, our project manager, do you want to take it over and give us the presentation? And I hope everyone can hear them. Just see how many faces on the page and how many faces as well. What's on the agenda? We're going over the introductions. I want to go over the project information, public engagement goals, and that's the focus on this meeting.
as well as moving forward with the project development process. As we start, as Bart showed earlier, what the project development process looks like, we want to be able to reach out to the communities that are being impacted with impacts of sea level rise, but also with the project itself, and ameliorate that or make things better for the community. Going over the project development process, what our adaptation strategies look like, and what are the next steps. And then we'll open it up for a Q&A session. So, what is a project, right? Project is to address the current flooding that is being experienced by the communities, and essentially the sea level rise. What we're currently working on is a document called the PSR-PDS, which is a project report that is going to develop a scope, cost, and schedule. We're trying to complete that at the end of this fiscal year, or June 30th of this year, in order for us to get us to the next phase, which is going to be the PME phase. I'm going to go over that project development process a little later as well. But that's going to be key. And again, throughout this whole process, we're going to be engaging with the communities, and more so during the next phase, because that's going to be the project approval environmental document. We're going to have a preferred project alternative, and obviously with public engagement and the community's concerns and rights, as well as environmental analysis, to get that. I did go over the next phase, depending on the funding. The funding is yet to be identified. And the project, and it's hard to see from here, but everybody hopefully has a slide deck. The project footprint will start from where Donahue begins, all the way up to where on the State Route 1 and up to the approach on Richardson Bay Bridge, and that's shown on the slide deck. And red is just a project footprint, just in case anyone has this next thing like that red, or what the delineation is. And so again, this project is to address the current flooding that is impacting many residents, the commercials, and the industrial land, and as well as the what do you call it, the process to again have stakeholder engagement, public collaboration as we move forward with this project. What are our public engagement goals? And some folks usually typically have public engagement in conference projects is in the next phase of the project, but it's really on. You want to get kind of like a flavor, or not just a flavor, but ideas of how we can improve the scope or the alternatives and the concepts that we have. And I'm gonna present those to you later. But we want to learn from community members and help us guide us through the process and to develop the project. We also want us to be able, and this is all about transparency, not only collaboration and coordination. Transparency is sharing information with the community. What are the challenges? What are we looking at? And also, what are you looking at? Your end, right? That's going to be this is two-way street. So help us understand how you want to hear from us and learn about the project. Is community driven, and so we want to present the alternatives, but not only allow us to present the alternatives, we want to hear from you if those alternatives will work for you as well for the community. So again, the key word being transparent and ongoing throughout the whole project development process. Essentially creating a meaningful project that everybody can benefit from. Just have that engagement on the phone. I want to go over the project development process a little further. I know Bart touched on it at the beginning of the presentation, but that's where we are at right now. Project initiation document. We're looking to complete PSR, which is a price report, again by June 30th of this year. This will take us to the next phase of the process, which is an environmental document process. Now, because of the complexity of this project, the environmental document is going to be an elevated document under the CEQA. CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, and NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act. CEQA is the California Environmental Act, and NEPA is the Federal Environmental Policy Act. So it's important to know that with an elevated environmental document, we're looking at not just how it impacts the public, but also how it impacts the environment with noise, with hazardous, with biological, let's say, with biological, let's say, some type of fries on these considered. So some of those things that the environmental analysis that looks at, not only how it affects the wildlife, but also the community and the lives around this project. So we're going to have an environmental document that's going to be elevated, going back to the typical document that we're going to have. And this reflects we're going to be looking at possibly an environmental impact. It's going to be that is going to require a lot of public engagement and also a lot of involvement with regulatory agencies. That's what the environmental process is, and also in coordination or in parallel, working with the community, or collaborating with the community to vote on or to identify which is going to be the price alternative moving forward. And that's going to take us to the next phase of the project, which is going to be PS&E. And PS&E short plans, specifications, and estimates. Here's where we really look into what the price of the alternative is, and we start developing the plans, the specifications, and the estimates, and also getting all the regulatory permits that we're going to need in order to be able to deliver the project. And the next phase is going to be construction. We also have parallel phase, which is the pathway phase of the project that begins at the end of the project through an environmental document. It runs in parallel with the PS&E or class specifications and estimates, where they have to acquire property. It's a separate phase where we involve our right-of-way folks with the process with right-of-way activities. It's not quite the normal process, and that's not it. I just wanted to go more into detail about what that is, and for everybody to understand how CalTrans builds projects. So, as far as this project is concerned, we look at what the Ocean Protection Council guidelines regarding climate resiliency projects and adaptation strategies for infrastructure. And the three adaptation strategies are to accommodate, protect, and retreat. Where in the accommodate alternative, we're looking to modify the existing resources. With protect alternative, we're looking to employ engineer and base structures to defend the existing conditions. And retreat is to relocate existing resources. So that's what the adaptation strategies, again, based on the Ocean Protection Council's guidelines. And so we want to present what the alternatives look like. And at first I wanted to show you what the protect alternative is. And essentially we're trying to protect the infrastructure, which is 101 and State Route 1, along with the facilities of Manzanita and the surrounding communities. We fully understand that some of these communities are going to be impacted as well. We're looking to modify this part of the alternative, which is to protect. And essentially what we're trying to achieve with this alternative is to elevate the existing multi-use path and wall-levee system by 10 to 14 feet in order to protect it against the high tide, against the flooding that is currently impacting not just the slipper as we've seen in the past, but also with sea level rise occurring. It will impact the infrastructure and impact the surrounding communities. Again, we're looking to have modified this as well in order to address some of the issues that are current that are impact or going to impact in the future the communities. So that's hard to take what's really here. And we wanted to show the cross sections so the public has an idea of what the implementation or the strategies alternatives that I want to go over is the accommodate alternative. In this one, it's going to be a little more extensive in terms of improvements to the infrastructure. That's going to require the elevation of US 101 and the elevation of State Route 1. And this one, and in this alternative, again, showing how that looks like is, again, elevating the infrastructure by 10 to 14 feet in order to accommodate and mitigate for the recurrent flooding that's happening. Now, there are concerns with what's going to happen when we elevate the infrastructure here, and that's going to impact the rest of the communities. Obviously, that's something that needs to be studied in the next phase during the project for the environmental document. How do we mitigate for all of that with the surrounding communities? But going back to the infrastructure, or what are we doing with the current multi-use path? As far as this strategy is concerned, with accommodate version, we're looking to have the elevate as well, the multi-use path, along with the rest of the infrastructure. And the next alternative is the retreat alternative. And with this alternative, we're not only looking to provide provide a flyover connector to State Route 1 here, but also partial improvements to 101 as well, and a relocation of the Manzanito parking right lot to a different location other than this one. We're currently looking at the State Route, the US 101 and State Route 131 connector. That's further north, and that's shown on the next. That's in the next slide where that would be located. And we also wanted to note, and this is something that was brought up in the last meeting, where initially we thought about as this is an alternative to relocate the Manzanito parking right, but it's not something that is feasible for the community, and so we wanted to share that with you and the community, that this is something that's not normally considered. Not only are we going to be looking into this one, we're looking at how we can relocate this Manzanito parking right, obviously with your input, because this facility impacts a lot of communities. So it's something that we want to be able to have and repeat and relocate so it works for everyone. Going back to the slide where the retreat option, the State Route 1, that will be elevated again by by about 14 feet. Again, that's going to be studied further in the next phase as we move forward. That's moving forward in with a more detailed design for this infrastructure improvement. Again, these are just ideas that we want to bring forward to the communities. These are our adaptation strategies, and these are standalone projects, alternatives. I'm sorry, and possibly the preferred alternative would be to have a hybrid solution, right? Maybe want to protect here, maybe want to elevate there. So that's something that, again, I want to hear from you and see what works for the community. What are the next steps? The next steps, again, is to complete the technical document, which is the project study report that I mentioned earlier. We're looking to complete that at the end of June. And again, it's going to be a long lead project. Usually when we program projects, we program it through construction, but in this case, because it's a very large project, we're looking to obtain funding at least for the next phase to study it further and to look for funding opportunities that will be able to fund the rest of the phase. Again, and that is continued public engagement for the environmental phase. So those are the next steps regarding this project. That is my presentation. Thank you. We're ready to receive your questions.
Right. Hey, thanks, Daniel, for running us through our strategies and our early look at what the potential solutions to those strategies will be. And now we're at the Q&A portion of the meeting. I want to check online. Do we have questions lined up yet, folks online? What we have to know is what you have raised right now. Okay, so let's do this. We'll start in the room, and we'll take 2 questions, and then we'll go to the online questions. So, first person, if you want to walk up to the mic and just say your name and give us your question. The microphone's right over there. So. Thank you. My name is Jack Crystal. 2 months ago, you Caltrans an email describing my background, history, and asking contact me so we could get together and share some time to go over the ideas and thoughts and what needs to be attended to, and share the information with you. I have not anything from anyone. You are saying in our ideas and thoughts as to this particular feasible project, and yet you're presenting us with what appears to be a complete as to a plan. Your studies and your plan has included Murray City, in the watershed, right? This requires an investigation, regulations, and balancing everything so that you don't end up when they killed it and ignoring all of the natural nature's features. In addition to this, ignoring properties east of Highway and you would be creating essentially an island below water level. Caltrans is ignored, tide locks is ignored, utility pumps, maintaining the tide locks, utility plan. Okay, we're right at 2 minutes. But let's take this one. Let's make that connection so that we can get all of your input and ask you questions. And then 2, is there anything you guys want to say to this last comment? What's your name again? I mean, I'm going through a lot of responses to this lady. It's a very much probably a lot of topics that we've seen, but I would be interested to see it. That's okay. No one wants the top house to be going and look, for the sake of simplicity, yet this is a lot more complicated. So that needs to take place for the entire region. And so we agree with you, sir. And so what we want to do is make a connection with you so that we can answer all your questions. If we did look at engagement in honesty, doing the same type of things that work, where is the big area that we have to place for comment? Thank you for being here. And yet, we need a lot more. The very beginning. 2 minutes. Hello. My name is Carrie. I'm on the board of the Lansing Community Services District, and I am the executive director of Lansing Climate Resilience. Now, did I hear you right? Did you say that the Gateway Shopping Center was like feasible for the Rat Parker Ride to be there? Did you say that makes sense? No. So that's feasible. It's no longer an option considered. It's no longer an option. Right. All right. I was prepared to talk about all the impacts of that exhaust, right? I'm going to come with some recommendations. Talk about freeway.
already up against it. Contaminated culture of flood waters come out from 101. That was this path that coming to Marine City. There's some things that you all can do besides raising the freeway. Freeway is heavy. Waters are coming to Marine City. Those toxic waters that causes cancer, causes infertility. You can have children in terms of their nervous system and a whole lot more. Why don't you look at it? To go towards the there is a big ditch there. You can actually use it to filter the water out and send it to the bed. So think about that. The other thing, around 600,000 bicyclists a year coming into Marine City, that's a major safety hazard, major gridlock, major problems for us in Marine City. Recommendation, the bike path is built. Why not look at making it a double-decker bike path? Folks going towards the Bell Valley, and then the top of that will be for people to return back to Sausalito. We've been asking for another access route in and out of Marine City. 2021, 5 feet of flood water, folks were stuck. I was in
It's a 2-minute limit.
okay, folks are next. Did you get that recommendation?
Yes.
We need another way in and out of Marine City. So the bike path, that's for something else.
And thanks, Cheryl, for capturing all this live. Next person that wants to ask a question, go ahead. Let's go ahead and take two from online. So Pedro, do you have one queued up? So Vicky Nichols, your mic, have time to go ahead and ask your question. Go ahead. Is there a way she can leave her mic for me, please? So I don't have an option. Or she can leave it right, Vicky? There's a microphone right there. Let's see here. Okay, we'll get back to you, Vicky. Let me quickly get into the questions that we have on the chat really quickly. That will keep the meeting full, and then we'll get back to you really quickly. Thanks, Pedro. Yeah, no worries. So Jimmy Casper is asking, are the changes to Caltrans maintenance site at Manteca a possibility with this project? I believe that's the Park and Dike. Are the changes to Caltrans maintenance site at Manteca a possibility with this project?
Changes to the parking lot location,
What's the maintenance facility?
the maintenance facility. So for the maintenance facility, we are trying to incorporate, some measures that would protect or accommodate the maintenance facility within the Seal of the Rise project. That would probably entail and everything else. So what we would do with managing the parking lot location also. I'm not sure if I answered the question. Okay.
Jim, if the question has not been answered, Jim, go ahead and feel free to follow up on the chat. But let's get going. Chris and Linda, they're also asking, if you raise the bike path at 101, it appears the parking lots and home communities at Gate 6 Road and Gate 6 and a half and Common Road will be flooded. What happens to those businesses? Can answer to that, and trying to answer that, but we recognize the impact of the property there. And this is something that, again, is essential what we're trying to do with the protected alternative. But obviously, we have to consider how we're going to address the flooding effects on the eastern part of 101 or the path, and something that needs to be mitigated for us to move the project. Right.
I think right now what we're just proposing is using the existing bike path and elevating it. But eventually we realized we need to work with the community, the local agencies, and the county to probably realign that bike path around and see exactly how we can also help out the communities and the businesses and the homes in that area too.
All right, thanks, Christine. Take a few like Michael, we'll come back to the row here and take a couple more questions. The next person, please give us your name and a little dark trick.
I guess back to before Caltrans, it was I think it was just California State Highway. This goes back to the 70s, 1970. There's an architect, the County Architecture, and the engineers came in to ask for suggestions on what to do about the way through Tank Valley. So I just offered a plan, and I don't know if you received it, but I just want to offer my services if you like, as you're considering what to do. If there's a plan, basically for Tank Valley, and as an architect, I'm more interested in communities, and so I'm thinking about circulation, transportation highways. I try to make plans that would improve the community and or serves. So I did come up with a plan for village core and valley, correct the circulation problem. So maybe some lagoon for Grand City while correcting the transportation Caltrans charge. So I just wanted to say I'm offering plans, and I would love to give you feel free. It's a portion of the past. I know. I think it still applies. Thank you. Okay, so you've already provided the information online, or do you have materials you want to give to us today? I guess all I do is I take a picture of it and I send it to my email. That's not all I know how to do.
I did see them and I thought they were very innovative.
So we can receive that. That's good. Because I never know even if things get received on the other hand. But if you can call me, because I can, there's a lot of details. Thank you for the work.
I think with regard to the emails, we've been logging all of the emails with the names and the dates and what your concerns have been. So we have been tabulating it, and eventually, we will be addressing those issues.
Hi, my name is Gina Farmer. I am with Marin City Stormwater Plan. And as we know, there was a lot of things happening in Marin City. And I do not want you guys just to start at the beginning of Donahue. But there's things that need to go all the way up Donahue that can be attached to your plan that you're working on now. Because there's plenty of issues that happen, not at the beginning of Donahue, but throughout Donahue. And so those need to be addressed also. And I think the funding that you're looking for will benefit everyone, and even in Marin City. You also mentioned stakeholders. I would love to know who your stakeholders are. And if you have agencies from Marin City as part of your stakeholders. We don't need county people and all these different agencies, but you actually need to have Marin City people as part of the stakeholders also, because you're talking about community engagement, right? How can you have community engagement if you're not really engaging into the community? Thank you.
Well, I can answer the first part is the project footprint that you showed earlier. That's just the beginning study. When we complete the project part, we'll take into account the concerns that you mentioned about going further down on the corridor. That's not set in stone. We can increase the footprint if we
can get in. So I always say, talk to us like we're in the fifth grade or kindergarten, so we all can understand what you're saying.
As far as stakeholders, the communities are stakeholder. I know Terry Green is very involved, and we're trying to reach as much of the communities involved. And that involves the communities, that involves the regulatory agencies, that involves the transportation agencies, including Transportation Authority, Marine, and County. So when I talk about stakeholders, I'm talking about all the impacted community members, as well as the regulatory agencies that have the oversight for all of the resources that we have, including the environmental resources. That's what I'm speaking for. But also the community members, also the stakeholders that we're referring to, not just the people.
We got to be.
So let's do that. If you have a list of entities that we should be talking with, find us with that, and we'll make sure that everybody's included. And what you said about fifth grade level really resonated with me. Like a lot of times I get asked people, "Can you take that down?" Just so I understand it. That is what our information team wants to do. So it's from a project website, you can also be using more graphics to make it easier to understand going with the process. Let's go back to Pedro really quick. Pedro, do you have two people queued up, or how are we doing out there? Thank you, Mark. Yeah, so really, before we're going to Vicky, if you are using a cell phone, the live feature is on below your screen. So right now you have seven view. Look for that mic and tap that button. If you're using your laptop, the mic feature is on top of your screen. So you put that line when I call your name, you can update yourself. So Vicky, I see you have to update your mic. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Informative. I'm glad you're holding this. I think Frederick might need a lot more. You've seen the interest from the various people who all have really a lot of skin in the game here. So what I want to talk about is your timeline about your funding and your plan. Sometimes when these projects get down the road, when the funding is asked for, there's an expectation about what the funding is going to be. So I think it's really important that this project doesn't get ahead of itself with a final scheme or cap that is then funded, because then it's really hard to undo that. You really need to help keep this with the community. And my second question was, what would the foundation have me at this point with one cap on the Lothian Marsh and all that? I was really happy to just hear you say that those coordination efforts are ongoing. That pathway and the restoration of the marsh has been ongoing. They're doing a beautiful job. To have one entity sort of segregate, not be able to integrate these improvements would be a real shame. So sounds like you're on that. I appreciate it, and keep publicizing this so we can participate. I think this is a good start. Thank you.
One of the things, it's not just the innovation in California, you can talk to all the transportation agencies around the world. Financing transportation projects is hard to do. And with this project, and it's pretty complex, the strategy is to break it up in phases as we move forward. And that's the reason why we want to look for funding for the next phase, which is the environmental phase. As we work towards financing the rest of the phases, specifically with construction, because it's going to be a costly endeavor. And that would take a lot of coordination and also a lot of negotiation, just with Caltrans, because the resources are limited with transportation funding. So we need to work with our partners via either Transportation Authority, Marin, MTC, or Metropolitan Transportation Commission, as well as other partners and possibly federal grants towards the project. Similarly to what's happening with Highway 37. It's a conglomerate of funding resources in order to achieve such a mega project. I call it something to be something similar. But the main thing is that similar with what's happening with 37, it can be done. And it's something that we're looking forward to work towards to with this project.
Do you have a second person, Tina?
Thank you. Yes, Janelle Coleman, if you can unmute your mic, you're next.
Everybody, thank you. My apologies to our partners in Red City for not being there in person tonight. Janelle Coleman, the City of South Florida, former mayor, serve on Green County Bayway, serve on the BCDC Regional Task Force on Sea Level Rise. I want to make a couple comments. First of all, around noticing. Your website, I think that's a little dated in terms of the noticing the meeting. I know you put it on Twitter, but some of the links didn't actually work. So Daniel, if we could look at that, would be great. I have an engineering question. I don't expect you to answer tonight, but I want to flag it, which is where does the ponded water drain to the bay? There's some uncertainty around where the water is driving and then also where it is draining. I also want to mention some resources for you. So Ms. Terry made excellent comments about multiple issues that are interrelated. And it is my hope that this project acknowledges that you can actually serve multiple outcomes at one time. And so there's something called the Briggle Bay project in Miami. And then Baltimore City has a bike path and a levee. The county shared that information with me today. This week, we're looking for ways to deal with bike paths that also have some type of sea level rise adaptation component to them. So I just want to mention this resource for you all. I'm pleased to hear you mention formation. City of South Florida, as I mentioned last time, is doing its sea level rise vulnerability assessment and coastal adaptation plan. We have invested very heavily in community outreach. I would like to really invite you to be a part of that because whatever you do will impact us. And we need to coordinate. So I also would love to hear what you guys are going to do when it comes to the Transportation Authority of Marin. Of course, as you know, they have their own table level rise planning that is out there. If you can make it very clear to the public how Caltrans will work the TAMP, that would be very, very helpful. And the last thing I'll say, I don't know if this is a room, but I don't see anybody from PCDC on the meeting remotely. And if you're going to be talking about the drains into the bay, PCDC needs to be a player from the beginning. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one question, your technical question. Could you say that again just a little bit slower so we got it? I didn't hear it all the way through. Did you guys?
Can you unmute yourself, Janelle? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I know 2 minutes goes by quickly. The question is, where does the ponded water drain to the bay?
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Ponded water in that, are you talking about the water in the detention or just like on the freeway?
The shoreline exit. Where is that draining? Where is that actually going off to? And it's actually rising. Are we seeing sort of uniform rise? Is it storm surge? What is the actual causation? Because we are going to look at any type of pumping or engineering solution. It'd be good to know where you see that water will drain. If it comes from gate 6 and other coastal communities, that will impact them. And there's something water that can be seen.
So a lot of the water, I think, in Marin City that is that's ponding in that area is basically from their watershed because it's shaped like a bowl. So one of the proposed projects that we have is basically another culvert that is draining, okay, close to where the private detention basin is and drains over to the bay. Close to Manzanita, I think we do have some floodgates that we are working on right now, and we're raising some of the small like levees, I guess you would say, everything next to the floodgates, just like a foot or two currently. In this project right here, with our protect measures, we are also looking at some pumps, okay, to drain some of the water. But right now, a lot of the water is flooding the area. It's basically from sea level rise, king tides, the subsidence of the soil there. It's like sinking parts of the roadway too. So it's a combination of rainwater, tide. subsidence that's causing a lot of the flooding.
We're gonna go to a few people in the room. Okay, please, sir.
I'm a resident of Tam Valley. I've lived here for over 30 years. I just want to ask them, is there anybody here from the supervisor's office? Staff from the supervisor? Is anybody here from the community? Anybody here from the Orange Community Development Department? You're kind of pretty far ahead of where you should be, I'd say. I dealt with political issues in Tam Valley sometimes. And unfortunately, Tam Valley doesn't have any political body. It's what you can do is a bunch of ad hoc neighborhood associations that whenever they're affected by something, they raise a big issue over it. When it's a valley-wide issue, a lot of times these neighborhood groups come together when they're doing the retrofit on a retrofit page. That's exactly what ended up happening. And we had meetings in an ad hoc committee with the supervisors, with community development, and I guess at that time, Tim, transportation agency wasn't in existence, but we had people from the engineering department of the public works that dealt with transportation, who transportation participated. This is going to involve, when you say stakeholders, you have to bring these people purposefully. I mean, drag them here to come to the meetings. But the best way to do that is to have get information around the table and then take it out to people where they live who were affected by this. It has worked several times here in Tam Valley, and I think it's very serious. Thanks.
Thank you for that input, especially the idea of an ad hoc committee in Tam Valley. Anything you guys want to respond to regarding his comments?
Thank you for the comment. We're trying to get as much engagement, not just with communities, but all the agencies. And as you said, it's going to require them to bring them to the table and find interest in our fires. So we need to coordinate and possibly elevate it so we can actually get their involvement.
Well, that leads right to why we're here today, in advance of what we normally do, public engagement. We need to hear comments like that. We need to pull in the appropriate groups, and we need to hear the issues so that we can program this appropriately, so we can get the funding we need to actually solve. That's the idea. Scott Raymond, Public ICF, one of the tenants of the Shoreline office complex, actually the largest tenant there. I think I speak on behalf of all of this there. Thanks for the jump start, by the way, the public engagement. Appreciate that. I'm not clear on how the protect, accommodate, and retreat, do they work together, or is it one or the other? Are they mutually exclusive? Could you explain that to me?
It's the way we presented it. It's kind of a standalone concept. As we move forward with the project manual process of public engagement, an alternative or an alternative that is going to have an combination of concepts. So that's what I was trying to say at the end of my presentation, that we may be looking at a project alternative that, in order to fit everyone's needs, is going to have both a protect and also an accommodate version. So again, that's going to be with collaboration and communication with all the different stakeholders.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that helps. And then, so what's being done immediately to deal with the flooding and the ponding? I mean, these are sort of intermediate, long-term plans. But is there anything that's being contemplated to deal with anything immediately, whether it's open the exits quicker, get the water out quicker, before the actual construction starts, like stuff that can happen this winter?
And there's been specifically shoreline. So the shoreline, I know that
projects that we're trying to improve drainage for, just for the corridor itself. But when we talk about work that's done in the corridor, it's an associated impact to the communities adjacent to the corridor. So we're looking to see how we can have a positive impact, not just with communities like Marine City, but also the shoreline. And as far as short-term projects are concerned, trying to spoke about exactly where specifically we're looking to mitigate some of the flooding issues that are occurring at Marine City. But as far as the shooting is concerned, that's something I'm honestly going to look more into and see how we can address the current situation. My understanding is that and that there's current flooding that is not allowing sometimes residents to or the businesses to get out from the area, right? They have to wait until maintenance comes and they clear that out, and it's going to require a project or some type of mitigation to address that. But that's something that we need to bring with executive management and possibly the program project in the short term to address that.
Yeah, so the last meeting, here I tracked it. I'm having I don't like to get photos and video that it took. It's pretty helpful. There were 30 days of closures that lasted 2 to 4 hours. So God forbid somebody has a heart attack or emergency vehicles needing to get in there, you can't get everything. It's a real problem. So we're looking for some kind of solution, or the immediate solution is, you know what I mean? It doesn't involve massive construction. And then I think the bypass option is a non-starter for some of the reasons Jack alluded to. I think it's just going to create an island. I think that is just not the path. I think you guys should really reconsider that bypass and just look at some of the options, other options for services. Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that right now. Some of the current projects that we're looking at is like we do have some floodgates there that are damaged that we're fixing. Like what Daniel was saying, we have a pavement project that is going through actually this one on 101 and also State Route 1 too. It's going to do it might fix some of the intersections where how you go off and everything from that restaurant boathouse, the steakhouse going down onto Route 1. We'll probably elevate it a little bit, but we don't have a big plan or a major project yet to address the State Route 1 under 101 where the flooding that you're talking about. But that is something that we will be addressing with our managers and design and see whether or not perhaps maybe we can elevate that and everything a few more feet. We do have a clearance issue though between with State Route 1 and the Richardson phase. So we really need to look at that closely.
Thank you. And I'm taking this as a very early in brainstorming session, and I represent only my own opinion and no community. So just my own 2 cents. When I look at this retreat plan as something, I immediately notice that this is why not put an idea of a levee down with floodgates that goes from early at Sausalito, Donahue, that area to Strawberry, crossing across and protecting not only some of Red City, but the eastern side of L1, but also helping in the Mill Valley. And I know that's a lot of agencies, but I know that with floodgates we can maintain our watershed. So I just wanted to put a brainstorm there, and then that does create more opportunity for a park and ride up in that intersection there, where the 101 is right here on the drawing. I also want to pick up on something that Scott was saying about the current issues. One of the small things I'd like to suggest Caltrans can do is empower your employees who are on the ground to get the road open as soon as they can, instead of waiting for some supervisor to let them know that they can. If we can give just them a little more power to move, so that they don't have to be closed any longer than they need to be, that'd be great. Anyways, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. We need to get maintenance involved. Early outreach. I'd like to take one more from the room, and then we'll go over to NATO and world.
Okay. Smith, obviously at the last meeting at Red City, I represent USA Adventist Presbyterian Church, but I'm also a homeowner here in Birdland. You're speaking of maybe down the bicycle path. Several times I've heard you say we have pumps. From an engineer's point of view, and we're talking about
sanitizing, cleaning ties, pumps are recirculators. Whatever drains from the streets, the pumps keeps it into the creeks and it runs that back up through the pipes of the street and floods the street. Until if you're a fisherman, you got 6 hours. High tide, flat tide before the tide drops. So if you flood 6 hours. Even if you're recirculating the water, you call yourself it out. But all it's doing is going to Coyote Creek, coming right back in. So we got a stagnant. It's going nowhere, but circulating round and round and round. Have you looked into taking the pump water away from Coyote Creek? It needs to be instead of just sitting here being recirculated back into Birdland. Answer.
It is like with a second, we're looking for tight gates. So the water that gets pumped out doesn't come in back in. But typically we get that up because that's something that I need to take back with Farmer Drugs to look at that issue specifically because that's something that is awareness of. But
as far as tight gates, you can't come back in there. Well, trying to.
Yeah, so I think, so when I was talking about the possible pumps that we would combine with the levee system, we don't have any particular locations yet proposed for those pumps. We just know that we probably will need pumps too. That's something that we would have to work with our hydraulics engineers. You know, so I mean, the further away, you know, from the communities and closer to the bay, you know, we would be looking at that and trying to minimize any of the circulation and the flooding that's going to occur. But that's more detailed design once we do get funding for this project that we'll be looking at in further detail.
did you want to? Yeah, I go ahead. I have 42 cents. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
What is? You have to realize someone up here said you had to run it all the way down off the Clydesdale to the train tunnel because like Calvin High School, Middle High School, all those areas. When you want to hear, it's going to go somewhere else. High school already at low tide level. You know, there's people putting these large pumps that they put in there in the 80s. They ran it down the baseball field and right around the corner and pumped into the bay. You start damming up here. You know, like you see what goes up, comes down, go find it going around, and down those areas flat. So I think you need to look down the line to see instead of just saying it just sticks one thing fits all. It will not. Thank you.
All right, thanks. I think you want to add it.
We recognize right now that, you know, our project area is somewhat limited and short. I mean, we're only looking from Donahue, Marin City to just the junction or the separation with State Road 1 and 101. We definitely realize that there's going to be a lot of impacts on either side of those areas towards Sausalito, Tam Valley, Mill Valley, that area. It's something that we're going to be looking at in much further detail in the next phase. Right now, since we're only in the conceptual stage, the initiation phase, you know, we haven't really conducted any studies yet. This is something that we'll be doing in the next phase once we start getting funding.
How many folks do you have queued up online? Okay, go ahead.
All right, Craig, it's your turn. If you mute your mic and you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. I had some questions about project limits. They're not, it's hard to understand on just the graphic in such a short period. And for the project alternative, it shows the wall levee pipe has stopping right at Coyote Creek. It seems that the time would find its way up the creek and impending highway that way. And on the accommodate, it shows the project limit stopping before Tennessee Valley Road. And some sea level rise mapping I've seen show there's one flooding
further north, so it's unclear what design water level they're using. And on the retreat, request did you have more than one alternative in the parking, right? And that a focused outreach to the Mill Valley and Tiburon Belvedere residents encouraged to discuss the issues with a 131, 101 parking location, and also appreciate the opportunity to look at materials in more depth and provide input before the scope, cost, and schedule is set in the project study report. Thank you. All right, thanks.
So yes, the locations have a lot of limitations because we are looking at just a little bit over a mile. We recognize there's going to be impacts from Coyote Creek and further beyond the area of Donahue at Marin City. We do have coming this summer a adaptation study that we're looking at that's going to span a longer portion of US 101. It's going to go all the way from I think Sarahville all the way through down to Donahue, and we're going to be looking also at the impacts along State Route 1-2, that's close to where Coyote Creek is. So I think Eric Alms is also on Teams, and he might expand a little bit more about it, and perhaps maybe that project also through the adaptation study can look at additional flooding areas that that this project so far hasn't looked at. But that doesn't necessarily say that this project is just going to be confined to the area that we're looking at right now. It may end up expanding a little bit further too in the next phase.
So let's see if we can toss it to Eric. Eric, is there anything that you want to add to the answer?
Let me just bring up. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. And so, yes, thanks, Frank, for mentioning the RIN 101 and 5A application planning study that we are looking to stage later this calendar year. Purpose of that adaptation planning study is to develop a coordinated climate adaptation strategy for the entire 101 corridor from Sanibel to Marin City, and including the Skygate. And that climate adaptation plan will identify and recommend projects and strategies that can compete in the future climate change funding, just like this project we're talking about. This is built on existing and previous local planning field efforts, including this Caltrans project, and identify a range of solutions. So this order-wide study being done after project planning, this 101 man-made project we're talking about today. The answer to that is because Caltrans planning staff didn't have the capacity or the funding to do a core-wide climate change study before now. However, we did identify the need for unmatched needs issues long-term flooding long before we were able to get going on a quarter-wide study right now. We were able to get the engineering team that Train leads beyond this issue. That's what we've been reading about tonight. So this quarter-wide adaptation planning study will in the project planning work that's being done here today. And at the same time, it will do a lot more engagement with the Marin County communities on it 580. And we'll be doing that in the County Bayway, and the Transportation Authority, and the county, and the communities. We're in the process of developing a plan, a loss factor to help us accomplish.
Social council's guidance for primary city infrastructure. That's some of the settings. Let me try to get them answer.
I think sea level rise is kind of new with what we're doing right now. Caltrans doesn't even have its own policy set up yet. Okay, so we are like what Daniel was saying. We're using the state of California sea level rise guidance that's being written out there and everything and too by the Ocean Protection Council. I think there's going to be, and every few years or every 5 years, they try to update it. We're supposed to get a new update soon. I'm hoping and everything by this summer. And obviously, our sea level rise strategies will probably be modified depending on what the new or the updated sea level rise guidance is going to be. We look. I think we look at other countries, also in the U.S. too, with like some of the flooding that's going on. Like what we see like down in Houston, New Orleans. We are concerned with some of the alternatives that we're proposing too. It's such as the protect. I think that that can be an issue. I mean, but that is one alternative that we're just trying to throw out to see, what the community thinks. Ultimately, maybe the protect isn't going to rise up and everything, and help us all the way to year 2120, which is what our timeline is supposed to be looking at. We're looking really long term, but maybe just, more in the midterm, and build something in the midterm. Looking at like longer solutions too. I think, one of the things that we recognize is that when we build or show these alternatives, we're not going to build probably to the ultimate. We're going to have to take and build in stages too. So, I mean, over in Europe, they were looking at like floating garages too. So.
Yes, there are some wonderful, innovative solutions, and I hope that Caltrans doesn't just settle itself just up to California, but really thinks broadly and maybe send some of you out on the trip to see what it could look like and then come back and bring that back to us. So thank you for considering.
Yeah, I want to come.
Yeah.
So aesthetics is a really important part of the community involvement portion of what we're doing here. So ideas that you have, like the architect, that actually sharing drawings with us. This is the time to do that. And then also there will be other agencies involved in aesthetic decisions like BCDC, keep that in mind. All right, let's go to our next.
All right, my name is Donald Parker. I grew up in Green City part of my life, and I lived over here in Tam Valley next part of my life, and years and years we've always been talk about one way in and one way out of Marine City. When we moved from Marine City to Tam Valley here, I used to have to walk over that hill. I used to have to run over that hill. I used to ride my motorcycle over the hill later on when I got older. But anyway, while you guys are doing all this, and we got Caltrans out here, I would like to see if we can come up with an alternative route in and out of Marine City. Because when disaster strikes or an emergency happens, we're stuck with the flood water, accidents or whatever. We have no way out over the hill and over this way and over that way. So we're out here looking for funding and all that. I would hope that we can look for putting another way in and or out of Marine City. It's one of my concerns. Number two, that traffic light that we put in right there where we go out of Marine City. We used to have basically 2 minutes at the most of traffic to get out and get onto the freeway. Now with that traffic light, you can sit there 5, even 7 minutes at the stoplight just to try and get onto the freeway. And called in the Caltrans several times trying to get through to somebody, but I've never been able to get through to anybody to address the problem. Because what happens is that traffic, it backs up. And when it backs up, you get stuck in the tunnel, and there's no lighting in that tunnel, so you can't see anything. So you come driving through the tunnel, you almost get into an accident. I'm sorry I'm out of time, but those were my concerns. And there's one more thing. Tam Valley Creek, it hasn't been dredged forever, and that might help with your water flow there. Thank you.
responsible for. I got it.
No, thank you for bringing up those concerns, and those concerns have been brought up. With regards to the light, that's something that we can
The lighting situation, back to our traffic people and have them take a look. So maybe after the meeting, you can show me the exact location. Is it like right at Donahue before you get on to yeah. Then we can talk to our traffic people and have them take a look at it.
Okay. We can offline that one.
Donahue? Ridgeway and Donahue. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Let's take one more here in the room, and then Pedro, go ahead and bring your folks back in.
My name is Royce McLemore. I lived in Marin City for about 78 years. Last week, I went to a meeting in Marin City, but it was the county where they are talking, what they were talking about. One question I have is why aren't both the agencies working together for the better good for the people? That's number one. Number two, you talk about the shopping center and wanting to put as a stop and go or whatever. Since the outlet opened, that shopping center is filled. Now you're talking about bringing in more cars and more people and traffic into our community. That's outrageous, truth be told. Then you talk about, as it relates to the fires, that is even more ridiculous in terms of bringing all this into Marin City. I mean, I know probably you want to dump it in Marin City because probably Sausalito told you hell to the no, not in our community. So I'm just here to say that it's still to the no because stuff that they was talking about last week, it's part and parcel. So why don't you tear down your barriers and work together? They have money, you have money, and to address the water issue. But the park and save or save and park, no, not in my neighborhood. As well as the riding and the bicycles.
Okay.
You're bringing me out of retirement.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Well, we're not considering anything at the Gateway Shopping Plaza. That was something that we talked about earlier. During the first meeting, that was something that the community shared with us. That's something that was not, as we shared, is not something that is appropriate for the community, and so we're moving away from anything regarding the parking adaptation. Regarding coordination with the county, we work together on improvements that impact the state highway system. Caltrans is the owner-operator of the state highway system. And so we work together when there are improvements that can alleviate, in this case, flooding issues in the community. The county has various projects that we're aware of that are addressing some of the flooding. And we don't usually involved in some of those meetings. But they also have projects that don't impact the state highway system. And so I understand your concern that there needs to be further coordination, how we can better align our strategy or focus our resources to address some of the impacts in the community. And so that's all I can say about that.
Thanks, Daniel. We're getting close to time. We're at 7:27. I do want to give the online question an opportunity, but I also want to say that as Caltrans, it's like we reserve the right to come directly to you.
One of the reasons why we created this meeting and moved quickly is we wanted direct input from the public on what the issues were. And so, as Daniel said, of course, we're going to be working with our stakeholder partners, but sometimes we want to come directly to you and hear it firsthand. So with that, Pedro, you want to queue up the next question? We're right at 7:28, so we're right at the very edge.
I do. Thank you so much, Bart. And for anyone who's joined us online, I am going to put the email address for this project. So if you want to share your thoughts, share your ideas, or you are thinking of a question, send us an email. We definitely want to hear more of your thoughts and concerns. And I'll do it.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah, so listen, you'll get an opportunity. Let them finish their question, please be respectful. Go ahead, Pedro.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me see. So I'll drop the information on the email, and I will give my people here. Barbara, unmute your mic if you can.
Yes, thanks. I'm having my hand up for a long time. Of course, interested in marshes around the county and the Bay Area, actually. First of all, I'd like to also say that Ms. Green made very excellent comments. Secondly, that the time gates and even pumps are not a whole solution because once the tide is high, the water can't get out that you're trying to open up the tide gate. But my main point is I wanted to know what is the alternative that has the least impact on all the wetlands that are there. Of course, the project area has tidal marshes and the lagoon at Marin City. And the marshes provide stabilize the shoreline. They help address climate change. They improve water quality in addition to all the habitat benefits for endangered species and other species. So I don't know how much the wetland impacts have been taken into consideration. I hope they have been. And I'd like to know what alternative has the minimum amount of impact and hopefully avoids impact. Thanks a lot. Sure, I'll take that question. So now we don't know the extent of the impact environmentally that we're going to have until we go into the environmental phase, which is the next phase that we want to fund. Right now, all of these alternatives impact the environment, communities, people, our infrastructure. So what we're hoping to do is, take these and additional, recommendations that we can get from the communities and the counties and the regulatory agencies too, and study them in the next phase. So I feel as though in the environmental phase, we're probably be able to give you better information regarding the impact that we're going to have, especially as it deals with like wetlands, biological resources, water quality, those measures.
Fantastic. So we're going to extend the meeting a little bit to try and clear out some of the questions, but we have to be mindful that we have to clear out a certain time. So next person, if you want to come up to the mic. Email? Yes, gotcha. Yeah. Hi, my name is Ian. I live in the community, Tam Valley. I've lived here as long as some of the folks here. Lived here since 2016. But just a couple of things I wanted to point out. One little comment is that whatever plan you do come up with, I really do think you need to also consider the construction process and how much that's going to impact this community because this is the most popular tourist destination in the Bay Area. Traffic to get to it goes straight through this community. And so that has to be considered. The other thing that I just wanted to say, really appreciate you coming here today, talking to us. It's not a whole process. And with all due respect, I understand and appreciate the work that you all do for the state of California. But Caltrans' mission is to move cars around. That is what you do. This community, Marin City, Tam Valley, do not have representation. We do not have being done to us rather than us doing it. We're not the ones that are actually acting to save our community from this process, this change. You're here to improve your traffic. And so I want to echo the comments that have been made about how we need to involve different stakeholders in like a holistic solution to this. because this affects a lot of people, and you can't just address one section of it and from an agency whose mission is ultimately and to improve the flow of traffic. That just doesn't make any sense. There's so many other things at stake here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment. I think as a department, that's what we're moving towards in terms of public engagement, media public engagement. And this is one of the first projects in my 16 years at Caltrans that I know of that we've reached out to the community at this stage of the development process. So Caltrans is evolving. We're no longer focusing on the mobility of just the traffic. Our foundational principles is safety, economic prosperity, equity, and communication. And it's overriding principles that are guiding policies. And so, as you say, we're evolving as a department, and that's what we're trying to do when we reach out to the community, because we really want to listen to the concerns that everyone has, and this is the opportunity for everyone to voice their concerns. I think get all 5 presidents. Let's get the SEC and also the equity.
The lack of representation. We'll be looking into how we can best engage. That is the purpose of what we're doing here today. We'll keep moving.
Yeah, thank you. Maria Ramos, Church Hawk. I've lived in this area for 22 years, Mill Valley. My kids went to school at Tan Valley. I'm a volunteer attorney with Marin City Climate Resilience and Justice. And what I want to talk about is there is a question here. It begins with this being an opportunity, because in the 22 years that I've lived here, there is a pattern that is glaring that I don't know if we've exactly named, which is the disenfranchisement of Marin City. And as a result of that disenfranchisement, now there's a lot of federal money coming down the pipes that require folks to consult and take the input of disadvantaged and disenfranchised communities. So bravo for that legislation. However, in the time I've been here, I have seen repeatedly a lot of talk and very little action about meaningful changes. Case in point, when there is an atmospheric river and there is flooding and you have little children and families having to walk through contaminated water, part of which is legacy contamination and the other part is the runoff from you come in. The children have to walk through contaminated water because there is only one way. And now, unlike in Tan Valley, I have been very inconvenienced, like all of us, by the flooding that happens at Tam Junction. However, I make a U-turn and go out the other way. In Marin City, there's one way, and so when you have people that are walking through contaminated water, if that happens anywhere else in this county, trust me, there would be the hugest political outpouring and outrage because of the class difference and color difference from a majority of the residents. So, what I'm asking for you is how will you use your political power and the immense amount of funding you can rally to make a meaningful difference in the flooding, because this is an opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Did you want to?
Sure. I can try to answer a little bit of that question, and that is a big question. We recognize, okay, that there is only one way in and one way out with Marin City. This is something that we need to address with our managers, and not just Caltrans, but also with the Army Corps. I think they're looking at like an emergency in and out, I guess, process within Marin City. Also with I think Marin County, we need to like work together to see what we can do. With respect to the water quality and the flooding and the contamination, obviously with this project, you know, in the next phase, we'll be looking at water quality and trying to treat that before it, goes out into the bay. We're trying one to also deal with the water quality issue too. These are things that we look at and everything during the environmental stage. And we recognize, I think Ms. Green has mentioned quite a bit about the contamination from our runoff from 101. Okay, that's something that we're also trying to address too. But then, we do pull in some of the federal funds, okay, such as that's how one of the ways that we were able to construct or we're going to construct the second culvert, okay, that's going to be removing some of the watershed from Marin City out to the bay. We're working with Marin County. I think they're trying to do something with the detention pond. They're working on the flood wall. They're also looking at a pump in that location too. So we are trying to coordinate our projects with theirs too, so that we can try to address the flooding in that area. Honestly, we understand though along Donahue, a lot of the drainage systems are old and deteriorating, and we need to take a look at it and fix it too. But I think even with the second culvert, are we not trying to fix some of the drainage systems in that area?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
several drainage systems that are going to be part of the scope of work that are going to be replaced because some of the drainage systems are
I've had an office at 150 Shoreline for over 40 years, and this is right next to Caltrans line. I can tell you that the worst flooding occurred in the early 80s. There's no measurable amount from my observations of any sea level rise that has occurred in that period of time. And in looking at these studies done by the people in the Netherlands, who have a country that is built underwater mostly, they have the increasing studies on this fact, and there's no catastrophic sea level rising that is in evidence coming our way. And therefore, these extreme projects that you're presenting are unnecessary and unnecessary disruptive in the future of this community and a waste of public money. That's first. Secondly, I'd like to say it's on your property. It's a culvert that's on your property. It has not been cleaned up maybe in 40 years. It's been neglected, and I've talked about it for 20 years, and I've got nothing but stonewall. And the Board of Supervisors will not only neglected their duty to notify you of this neglect of your property that is contributing to that flooding and the lack of drainage after the tide goes down. And finally, that I talked to an individual, an engineer, who did a soil analysis of the lot next to my private property. And they said there was 96 feet of mud to get this to bedrock there. We are living here in fill land and mud, and the subsidence issue is something no one's talking about, not just here, but in Grapevine, all up and down, up in Highway 37, and it's time for you guys to actually deal with that issue. And you need the Army Corps of Engineers. All right, thanks. I said you need the Army Corps of Engineers to get to that problem with you if you really want to manage this problem. Thank you.
Anything you guys want to address?
Well, I agree. There is a subsidence issue too. There's a bunch of issues that we need to address, and they're all. It's not just one feature. It's not just sea level rise. It's like the atmospheric river rates that's flooding our area. It's like a subsidence. Like you said, we're on a lot of clay and mud that is basically sinking the road too. So we have to try and come up with solutions that are looking at also those issues too.
Thank you, everybody. I think it's a very interesting nexus of a lot of different issues. There's a lot of intersectionality happening between legacy, prejudice, building on the wetlands, and a lot of different interests. And now there's some money available through some infrastructure. I think there's a lot of things that can come together. I do think this is an opportunity. But we need to form a Richardson Bay coalition so that everybody can come. This is a Richardson Bay issue. Everyone, Tiburon, Belvedere, Strawberry, Manzanita, Tam Valley, Marin City, we're all connected around Richardson Bay, and Audubon should be at the table. BCDC should be at the table. The county, Caltrans, we should all be together, and you should, quite frankly, pay people to participate in community process so that everyone is able to bring ideas forward. We're able to share ideas. You have the embassy, the Dutch embassy in San Francisco, avail ourselves of their knowledge, and they're already having done this work. Singapore is, there's places that are very far ahead. The Resilient by Design study that was done. All of these things need to be made transparent, and we need to be collectively looking at things, because just raising things and levees, this idea of the water will obey your pipes and your floodgates, it's ridiculous. Water doesn't do that. Water saturates. It's a saturated system. When things are at the high tide, it's moving through every particle of dirt. It's not staying in a pipe. It doesn't do it. And so we need to address air quality. There's air quality issues because of the freeway, not just water quality issues. Waste reduction. I think there's so many things to be addressed. I really want to see us come together and unpack this and collectively.
Yes, Julie.
I'm going to try and be clear. I am the coordinator of the Historical Society at Thomas River. And I literally have been looking up for all the roads. And so these pictures, I've handed a copy to the pictures here, literally show that there are 2 roads, actually 3 roads, to the original farm. And now there are 2 roads left to go. Both of them have fairly easy access. One of them comes down the hill line here, and it's just right at the bottom of the hill. That was the way that the people got into down to the railroad tracks. And there was the 2 milk places that came across. They brought milk, vegetable groceries, all that stuff to Sausalito. Those exist. One of them is behind the Golden Gate Takeout Target building, directly next to the tollway. It got cut open at one point in time and scared the Jesus out of me. I was back more, and it was really frightening. And I actually contacted the sheriff's office and Caltrans about it. But there are some ways of getting out, and those could be used. And I took used maps and came up with another picture so I can actually show you where it is. So I'm happy to do that and share that with you.
Thank you very much. I want to go back to Pedro really quick. I think you have one other person out there. Pedro, are they still there?
I believe they have logged off for the night. I do have some questions that the panel can answer tonight. This gentleman, Ken King, he asked me, what is the plan with the bike path? Is it under will it be elevated for slow times?
Let's take that as our last question. Let's go ahead and eliminate the clock. And if you don't mind, pull up the last slide so that the contact information is there. And then the bike path.
So yes, the bike path is incorporated in all of our strategies. Pretty much, we're trying to look at keeping it in a similar location, elevating it or putting it in everything, on the infrastructure kind of moving forward. What was the other question that we with the bike path?
Yes. So, right here, it says the question is, where is the plan with the bike path? Is Thunder Council Authority
Okay,
elevated as well as heights?
it's not underneath Caltrans authority.
And so this is where we have to work with the community and also the county of Marin. I think the bike path is part of like the Bay Trail, so there, and it is on, I think, the property of Marin County. So we would have to coordinate with them, you know, to raise the bike path or do anything with the bike path.
You want to add that?
No, I think try to cover it. All right. And with that, we're off. Obviously, we've got a lot of work to do. We want to thank you all for participating tonight. For bringing your ideas to us. On the screen there, we have got our contact website where you can submit questions, ideas, thoughts. Manzanita Project at dot.ca.gov is the current website. We're going to be evolving all of the stuff as we go, and there's a project web link as well. So with that, thanks everybody, and have a great night.